This is interview with Terisa Griffin, local celebrity, vocal celebrity. Um, and we're here just to talk a little bit about your career and how things have been going for you, your releases, and certainly your upcoming events as well. Thank you very much for your time this morning, or
Thank you.
this afternoon now.
Thank you this afternoon.
You just recently performed at NARM a couple days ago. How was the performance for you?
The performance was very nice. You're in a lounge, a lot of people, so it really makes you pay attention to the delivery.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get people who are drinking at 11:30's attention, then you're doing pretty good. So afterwards, we had a lot of positive feedback,
Excellent.
and so I thought it was wonderful.
I've actually have it on good authority that people that were there did respond very well. Also, heard very good things about you.
I was probably more nervous during the sound check. It's always a bit nerve-wracking when you're trying to figure out the equipment that you're going to use when there's three other bands that are going to perform, and will the sound person be as attentive to you as you need them to be, and will things end up sounding the way you need it to sound. So it's all kind of unnerving at the beginning, and then you step back and say, okay, you either do it or not do it. So
That's true. Now you seem to keep yourself fairly busy on the live performance aspect, and certainly varied throughout the country, actually. And how do you get involved in these different places? For example, I know when you played a lot of not your typical venues for some of these shows. Can you tell me a little bit more about that as well?
I have a one-woman show that I do at different venues, but I really like the DeSable Museum because they lend a different atmosphere, and financially they work for me very well. But I also get to travel with other artists, so once people hear me with those artists, they book me to come back and perform with my band, so that's another benefit of working with a seasoned artist.
Okay.
Besides the fact that you get to steal some of the things that they do on stage and learn from them. So that helps me book myself. And then my recent project that has come out, we basically decided to get the most exposure out of the project. We needed to go to different cities, collaborate with some of the clubs, and find out if we could come in and kind of throw a CD release party to introduce myself to a new area.
Mm-hmm.
And in that case, you get a sponsor,
Okay.
or you sponsor yourself, and you go in and find everybody who has an email address in the country and get people to come out to hear you, and visit the local retail stores and beseech them to please come and hear you, and maybe if they like you enough, they'll carry your product.
Well, it's definitely a lot of work, and I know, speaking of a lot of work, you've went above and beyond the normal performer role and created your own label as well. How is that pretty much going for you as well?
That is a very interesting thing. It's fabulous when it comes down to being able to be creative. There is nothing like walking in and saying, I'm going to do the type of music that I want to do. I'm going to write this song. I'm going to bring in these producers and writers and musicians, and I'm going to do it just the way that I would like to do it. That part is fabulous, nerve-wracking, arrogant on some hand, and on the other end, it's a freedom of creativity that most people couldn't imagine when they're signed to a label. On the other hand, when you start talking about distribution and all the promotion, it's a learning process. It's a positive learning process, and sometimes it can be a bit frustrating, but that's the great thing about life. You live, you learn, and because it's my label, I get to try it again.
True.
So it's fabulous.
And now you've got actually two releases and an EP, and your last release, Naked Soul.
This is my Naked Soul.
Okay.
And if I could ever say I'm so proud of myself for once in my life. It's one thing when you do a stage production and you pull it off and you've got a room full of people. It's another thing when you've written something honestly and people actually say, you wrote about my life. You know, it kind of tells you you're not alone in this world with your life experiences, and it's okay to go through them and experience them that way, but the fact that you wrote about it honestly and touched someone else, it's indescribable.
And you had mentioned on your site that it is one of your goals to write a song that will, so this is where I wish I had the quote with me.
If I can invoke
heal the pain.
And heal, and if nothing else, help them deal with it. You know, I think the biggest thing is when we're going through something, it always feels like we're just going through it, and nobody else knows how you feel.
True.
And for someone else to say, oh, you went through this too, and women feel a kinship, even men, you know, it's like, oh, I'm hurting. And I had a girlfriend who wasn't so cool, you know, and for people to say on a basic emotional level that they experienced that same thing, and it kept them from alienating themselves. That is the largest gift you could ever receive. You know, that's an enormous gift. And
that's true.
And I'm grateful that I can say that I was honest enough to do that, and I want to provoke people to do that. And I also want kids and other people who are aspiring to do the same thing I'm doing to know that, you know, nothing beats a failure but a try, so go ahead and try it.
It's definitely a very powerful words. And now your upbringing is more on the gospel side with your sisters. In my learning more about you, I've seen two of your sisters, like on your MySpace page. Is a third sister also?
Wow, you are good. I have three others. I have three sisters.
Correct. I just didn't see the third one.
The third one, I'm trying to get her to get a MySpace page. She's more gospel.
Okay.
The rest of us are heathens, I suppose. We went the other way. But no, she's more gospel, and I actually recently spoke to her about her MySpace page, because I'm like, then I'll have all of my sisters on my MySpace page. And, you know, hopefully and prayerfully, I said to her, maybe in January I can get us all together and we can make my mom extremely happy and record a gospel album.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Just, you know, just to remember our roots. But definitely starting out in gospel. And then my father and mother they had enough foresight to allow us to sing in chamber music choirs, and you get to learn to sight read, and you get to learn to appreciate what notes really mean, and you know, there is a rest in the song, which means you breathe. And so, so you get to learn. I actually had the opportunity to learn what perfect pitch meant. My father was a singer as well as a minister, and so he had perfect pitch, and so did his mother. And so they probably scared the bejesus out of us whenever we were singing off-key and threatening to kill you. And so that, having three siblings helped us learn what harmony was and the appreciation of another voice. That was the great thing about growing up in a gospel household. But I went to college on a vocal scholarship, and I got to appreciate breathing and knowing what my diaphragm was, and how to maintain my voice in the worst situations, because when I first came to Chicago, the clubs I performed in had smoke everywhere. And I got to the point where I was like, okay, if you could reserve the first 3 rows for my breath, for my lungs, I'd appreciate it. And people behind those rows perhaps, you know, then they can smoke, but just let me breathe right here, and because it was taking effect. But all of the things that I learned being properly trained has come to help me maintain my voice in the best way.
Excellent. And one question I did have was your father your only vocal teachings, or did you also get other specific lessons from more professional?
No, I went to college on a vocal scholarship.
Oh, okay.
So Dr. Lewis Neighbors, who was a professional opera singer.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
No, he he was very intimidating because he was about 7 feet tall, really big guy, and he had this really deep bass voice, and to hear him sing, it was very intimidating. And here's a man who's singing, and it's not gospel. It is truly opera.
Oh, okay.
You know, and these sounds are rolling out, and he's singing in different languages, and I was like, I want to do that. You know, I want to learn how to sing in different languages. So I went to Northeast Louisiana University, and was blessed enough to sit down with that wonderful man and have him teach me how to speak and read phonetically in German and French and Latin.
Wow.
And you get an appreciation for how someone actually has to roll with their tongue in another language. So it was great.
Excellent. And now, what do you have lined up in the next few days here?
Wow. I have about 13 gigs in May. I'll be going to St. Louis to do an after event for Brian McKnight. And then there's an event in town called the Uplift Chicago, which used to be today's Black Women's Expo, that I'll be performing at. And then the following night, which is that Saturday, I will be performing for the 100 Black Men, who are a mentoring organization across the country, mentoring young kids who are getting ready to go to college, and so they get them in like high school, and that's an amazing thing that they do. And so I'm performing for them, and the next week the insanity keeps going, where then I open for Music Soul Child in Indianapolis the following week, and it's just shows and shows. I'll go with Jerry Butler to New York for Mother's Day, as I do every year. Some things I stick with, you know. You get to work with an icon, you get to learn little tricks. And he has this thing where if people are too loud in the room, he steps back from the mic and forces them to listen. And I'm like, wow. So you don't have to say, shut up! He just steps back. And then even the band listens. You listen differently because he stepped back. The sound has changed tremendously.
Reverse psychology almost.
It is. It really is. And everybody gets quiet, and they start to appreciate this voice that has stepped back from the mic, and it's not all amplified, but it's very pure.
Excellent.
And I love that about the Iceman, and he never sweats. Yeah.
And let's see, new release. Do you have anything studio-wise in the near future?
I'm going to concentrate on January. What I love about a project like mine, there are a lot of songs that we were blessed with that people love, so it has a longer lifespan than I would say on a regular pop album, or, you know, the albums that you hear now. Because I'm doing it's an adult album, I have a longer time to play with it and to introduce songs to the public. It's also a great thing about being an independent artist. You know, all of the songs didn't get played on the air immediately. So, you know, it wasn't rushed through. It's like enjoying a good meal.
Excellent.
You know, with all the courses. So I get to do that. That's another advantage of an indie.
That's true.
You get to live with your project longer. But in January, yeah, I will. And I'm writing all the time. But in January, I will sit down, hopefully, with my sisters. And my mom told me recently, when she had a scare with cancer, that she wanted to hear all of us sing together. And so, as a surprise to her, which will probably not ever be a surprise to her because we all can't hold cold water and we tell her everything, I'm going to see if we can all come together to do that, because my sisters truly are the most talented women I've ever met in my life.
And yourself included.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I was going to say, don't sell yourself short.
No, but they are just, I've sang with a lot of different people, but they truly are gifted, and I hope that they realize how gifted they really are.
What would you say is like some of the differences in between you, vocally speaking?
Vocally, not a lot. Our voices have different timbres, of course, but the largest difference would not probably be our voice. We have a soprano. All of us have pretty good range.
Okay.
Adrian's voice has more bottom, so she could definitely carry a good timbre, a good tenor, or at times she could be a nice baritone. She's a really deep, rich voice,
Okay.
but she can get up there. You know, she has range too, but we always use her for the bottom because there's something about her voice that just supports everything.
Mm.
And she wouldn't even know that. It'd be surprising for her to hear that, you know. Marianne, she can just go all over the place. If we can just get her to stay in one pocket, we'll be good. We call her the queen, you know. She's the diva, main diva, but can sing anywhere. But once we collectively come together, it's amazing. My baby sister would be the soprano, who she does not want to be. She wants to be a contralto. So we let her delude herself into thinking she is one. But we give her the top.
Okay.
And Marianne and I stick in the middle, and we all lead a song every now and then. But it's really something that we learned early on with my dad, that everybody had a part to play. And we all can actually play a part in a song and not run over each other, which is an amazing thing. You know? I haven't sang with them in about 4 years since our family reunion, but that's part of what we're going to have to regroup to do in the studio.
And I'm curious why you didn't decide to all work together initially.
Oh, it's just hell. It's not good.
Schedule-wise, or?
I think we all were forced as children to sing together until we left home. And once, like most siblings, you get a little bit of freedom, it's an amazing thing. You know, I'm glad to get rid of, you know, it's every person who's ever had a sibling knows that once you can get out of the house and away from them, it's like, good, you can't wear my clothes anymore, I have to put up with you, I'm out. And then you live your life and you get to make all of the screwed up mistakes, and then eventually get on the phone as you get older and say, I'm having problems with my boyfriend, and you get to talk to each other again. So when you grow up with that much talent in a house, it can actually create quite a bit of sibling rivalry.
Yeah, go ahead.
And if nothing else, you want your freedom because you become Marianne's little sister, or Marianne becomes, oh, you're Teresa's sister. And as opposed to having your own identities, you become somebody else's sister. And the struggle to become yourself within yourself, not that you aren't already, but, you know, just so you convince yourself that that's who you are, you need to go and do that. And maybe I think it will make us more powerful later on when we do come together. But I think we needed space.
That's understandable. But I personally would really welcome the opportunity to hear the four of you together. I think that'd be awesome.
Oh, I certainly intend on praying on it happening. We might have to have a couple of fights in the studio while it's going on, because everybody's opinionated. When you get, I really believe behind closed doors with any siblings, when it's that much talent, somebody is going to argue. That's like having a band.
True. And
you got a lot of talent in the band, and everybody is the star, you know, and you're not paying enough attention to this, and you need to listen to me. It happens. So I welcome that now, because we're all older, and we have an appreciation for what specialties, you know, the other one does. Marianne has a fabulous body and a fabulous voice. She can stand right here in front of me. I'm beautiful, but we can sell some albums with her, right, in the right angle, because this is a very image-conscious society we live in.
Unfortunately, so.
Anitra has a great body as well, so we know which ones to put where. Adrian and I are thick, sexy but thick, so we know where to stick ourselves. And then, of course, I'm going to make sure I get my publishing check and my writer's stuff. So, no, it's all great.
Yeah, actually, Sophia Millman, the other performer that you were with the other night, and I were talking earlier that evening about the similar situation where looks on album covers are unfortunately pushed too much. Especially Sophia Millman also is an incredible vocalist in her own right. She doesn't need her looks, and you don't need your looks to sell. I mean, the voices alone are just enough to just really ring in the sales. And
Thank you.
It's just unfortunate that we're that visual-minded people that we are.
Extremely visual-minded, and I think it's changed music for the worst. When you really think about it, we miss a lot of great music because we want to see more so than hear.
I mean, look at the fashion and the model industry in itself is one that I'm glad to see that some people have actually woken up to that fact. But to what end is it actually going to? Is it actually going to be a fully positive act or movement?
Yeah, how long will it stay?
Yeah.
Well, I always say that the greatest campaign that has come out in the last 2 years has been the Dove campaign, where they have these women, and they're everyday women.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And they're there in their underwear, and it's all about the different types of beauties to appreciate. And I thought that was remarkable, that they could show everyday women. And I mean, because the truth of the matter is only probably about 15% of the women out there are a size 3 or even a 5. Every drive-through you drive through, they actually, if you want to upgrade, if you want a bigger size. So the average consumer is driving through the drive-through and looking at a magazine. None of them are really getting up to work out to get to be that. I mean, you'd have to starve.
Sure.
Which is why we have such a problem with anorexia and kids, doing like unspeakable things to fit in, to be a part of society. And I think we as artists, of course, hold a responsibility to try to project the goodness of us. And we just had this big conversation the other night about this same thing. But image is one of those things that will never change. It has been around for forever. In this industry, if you want to be successful, you will have to come to terms with who you are and push forward and be happy with the successes that you have in life, because you can't change an industry overnight. It's not, I mean, it's been that way for a very long time. Elvis had a wonderful look. And if you look back, at Elvis, younger Elvis, everybody had a problem with Elvis when he started to gain weight. Well, Elvis was getting older too.
True.
I mean, let's just be realistic about it. So, we want youth and beauty, but what about the quality of music?
It's true.
And I don't think the quality of music, as far as Elvis was concerned, changed. But he changed. Things about him changed. And when we look at our older seasoned artists, they work more than the average young artist. And how, when you think about it, look at the transition of what artists that are being booked heavily. It's those older artists from that time frame where there was no video.
Yeah.
There was American Bandstand, and you get to see them, some of them. But for the most part, it really was about the music. And radio was different, and everything was different, so people really got to hear a lot of different things. And now they're programmed to this type of music. And we as adult consumers have to be more vocal about what it is that we choose to buy and what we want to hear. And that's the great thing about the internet. because it has allowed adults to go and find and search for a better quality of music. And it created an avenue for an artist like myself, which is great.
Well, and a new structure to the whole industry itself. I mean,
Absolutely.
and and again brought independent people to more prominent positions. So, but I believe I've taken a good deal of your time here, and
It's been my pleasure.
It's been my pleasure as well. I thank you so much.
Thank you.
And wish for nothing but if I could talk, wish for nothing but the best for you.
Thank you.
And
Hope I didn't talk you to death.
Not at all. It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
you.